Have you ever walked outside at night and it is electric? The air feels like it's alive, you have goosebumps on your skin. The air has weight to it, and depending on what you're doing or who you're with, you're probably hustled to the car. You draw the people you're with a little closer, hang on a little tighter, draw the dog in a little closer. Maybe you call someone, maybe you start whistling to dispel some of the uneasiness from the dark. Don't do that. Today we are going to discuss why you don't whistle in the dark. The main reason across continents, across cultures, doesn't matter where you are from in the world, this is a very common belief. And one of the reasons why you don't whistle in the dark is because it will somehow bring ill bad luck, ill omens, bad spirits, restless spirits, shapeshifters. It's going to draw the things, the creatures of the night to you, the things that go bump in the night. You're going to catch their attention and they're going to follow you. They're going to try and get into your home, and it's just going to be a bad situation. Now, traditionally, when I started, not traditionally, but when I started doing my research for this video, a lot of it tended to focus around the Appalachian region, which is a fairly large swath of the southeastern United States. And a lot of this belief system was essentially came about from the perfect blending of the traditions from the Scottish and the Irish that settled the region and the Native American tribes that settled the region. And from the Scots and the Irish position, you didn't whistle at night because it brought in bad luck. You could draw in negative spirits. From the Native American tradition, you didn't whistle at night because it would draw in shapeshifters, restless spirits, or haints. Now, that might be from both, just kind of the word that came about from culturally, or spirits, malevolent spirits of the land, restless spirits, etc. The Shawnee and the Cherokee are the two that are attributed in one of the articles I wrote, but I do know that there were a lot of other tribes in the area at that time and in the different locations. So this is probably just a collective belief system, and I've seen it echoed among numerous Native American tribes on social media and just in the research. There's actually a book you can pick up. It's called Never Whistle in the Dark. I will post a link to the Peabody page that kind of talks about it and gives you an idea of some of the stories that are there. And this is my 6th time filming this, so I had to restart my computer just to see if that would keep the camera from cutting out. Fingers crossed I can get through this video before anything goes wrong. If I speed run it, that's why. The other thing is that in Native American tradition, the night is considered sacred. The silence and the stillness should be respected and not be broken, and whistling at night will break that silence. And you just don't want to do that. You want to be respectful to the night. And not only that, is believed that the veil is also thinner at night. So a lot of spirits are wandering around. Now, on top of all of that, you do have this kind of other tradition. You do have these other traditions and other folk sayings that have come up. One of which being, if you hear your name called in the woods, no, you didn't. And if you hear somebody whistle at you, no, you didn't. I am a little surprised that if you hear the thing about the baby, if you hear a baby crying in the woods, no, you didn't. It's not a baby. That wasn't mentioned. But a lot of these beliefs come out of the idea that the spirits that you're potentially drawing are mimics. They're shapeshifters. They can mimic human voices. They can mimic whistling. There are a lot of stories of people hearing footsteps and no one's there, seeing humanoid figures that aren't really humans. Are they cryptids? Are they spirits? Who knows? Eyes glowing in the night that are not, any identifiable animal. There's just too much collective experience to just completely write it off as it's just collective hysteria. It's a common misconception. The woods are just woods. Are they? Or is there something else there? And the rules that have come about from this is don't look in the woods, don't acknowledge your name being called, and don't acknowledge the whistle. Just keep going, mind your business, and keep your head low. Now, there are actually some practical reasons why you don't want to whistle in the dark. And two of them make a lot of sense. Actually, they all do. It's you don't want to, disturb your neighbors, especially when, if you take into account before cars and whatnot, a noise. I don't see how that would really be a noise complaint, but I could see in a time, before automobiles, before, when it was a lot more rural and the sound, of course, carries significantly. You didn't want to whistle because you didn't want to, disturb the neighbors when you should be sleeping because everyone's had a really hard day. The other one is depending on what was going on at the time. It was a time of war. If you were maybe a runaway slave, if you were, running, moonshiners or whatever, you didn't want to whistle because you didn't want to give away your location. If you whistle, then all of a sudden, you're within hearing distance of the enemy camp. They go, aha, there's someone there. And then the other thing is you didn't want to draw predators in. You didn't want to run the risk of becoming food. That is, another thing. Makes sense. This isn't just necessarily a native tradition. In China, it was believed that if you were to whistle in the dark, you would draw in negative spirits. In Japan, if you whistled in the dark, you would draw in snakes. In Korea, it was believed that you would draw in negative spirits. You would summon ghosts. In Mexico, it was believed that whistling in the dark would draw in I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this, the lechuza, a witch that could transform into an owl and swoop down and snatch up the whistler and carry him or her away. In Turkey, it was believed you would summon the devil. There's a lot of Arabs that would think that whistling in the dark you will summon the jinn or Satan or shaitan. Let's see. The Siamese of central Thailand hold that whistling at night calls evil spirits and brings bad luck. We're going to go over Hawaii. The Samoans and the Tonga people of the Pacific Islands believe that those who whistle at night will be visited by unwanted spirits. The indigenous Noongar people of southwestern Australia, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, maintain that those who whistle at night attract the attention of the Warawirin, or bad spirits, and the Maori of New Zealand maintain that if you whistle after midnight, the kahua, or ghosts of the spirits, will whistle back. Now, in Canada, what was fascinating is they didn't necessarily believe in spirits. I believe this is a First Nation belief. And the First Nations, the Salish or Salish tribes, and the Okanagan all talk that if you whistle at night, you'll draw in the stick people who are, hold on, who are either hairy Sasquatch like people, like giants, and they're cannibalistic, or they're forest dwelling dwarves dependent on tribal affiliation, depending on the tribal affiliation. And most Salish tribes maintain that the Stick Indians communicate using whistles that are alternating from low into high in pitch. So that was completely different. They actually believe that you're drawing in an actual physical person or physical entity as opposed to a spiritual one. There is an Inuit tradition that believes that if you whistle in the dark, or not only whistling in the dark, but if you're out under the aurora borealis, it's incredibly dangerous because the spirits of the dead can swoop down to carry you back with them, because it's believed in some native traditions that the aurora borealis is the spirits of the dead who are dancing, and they are on their way to the afterlife, and they will come down and take you to join them. In Hawaii, there is actually a tradition that says you don't whistle in the dark because you're going to draw the attention of bad luck or bad spirits and invite them in. And among these kind of spiritual traditions or spiritual people are the night marchers. And the night marchers are a spectral procession of ancient Hawaiian warriors or gods believed to travel at night between sacred sites. And they're often heard drumming, chanting, and sometimes blowing on conch shells before they are seen. So I have here about the kapu system, where certain places are considered sacred and dangerous, and whistling could be disrespectful if you whistle in those locations. And whistling could also, again, they were considered whistling a way to give away your location. And it was said that if you should hear the drumming and the chanting in the middle of the night and you think you are coming upon the night marchers, to lie down face down out of respect, and hopefully they will kind of pass you by and not bother you. And they're like, yeah, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So these are traditions. I remember I thought I saw something even among the Romans because I was kind of curious because I was hearing these traditions and I was like, is there? I don't ever remember hearing anything among the Italians or the Romans, but I think it was that same idea. You would call in bad luck. It was to call in, restless spirits, especially when you take, you know, when you consider in certain mythologies that you take like Thanatos or Mercury would bury the dead along the roads, and especially crossroads. You didn't want to whistle in the dark, probably to draw in the restless spirits or the lost souls. So, regardless of whatever you think, maybe whistling in the dark is not the best way to dispel the uneasiness of the night. Perhaps it is best to just say a quiet prayer, keep your head down, and hustle wherever you're going. I did have a friend, I had an old coworker who had a theory about this because this was before COVID, but even after COVID, when we have fewer people in the office per day, it's a little creepy sometimes at night going out and there's very few cars or no cars, depending on the side of the building you're on. We are surrounded by a lot of woods. And his theory was sing Elton John. Nothing bad can happen to you if you are singing Elton John songs. I thought of that as I was putting together information for this video. It probably you're not supposed to sing at night either if you can't whistle. I highly doubt singing is going to go over well because that's the last thing you want is to start singing and then have someone respond with the chorus from the shadows. Um, but it kind of is what it is. I haven't thought about that in years, but be safe out there and sweet dreams. Don't whistle in the dark. All right. Take care.